Good day and welcome everyone, it's Stuart here from Northern Bolt & Tool, and today we're going to be looking at cordless fans from the Inkco catalog. So coming in at 629 Rand, we've got our small unit over here. The medium unit over here comes in at 1049 Rand and our large unit at 1250 Rand. So which one should you buy? Which one has the best performance? We're going to test them out, do a runtime test and make a recommendation at the end of this video. So with that, let's get into the unboxing and see how these fans differ from each other. Some of them have features that others do not, so we'll get into that during the unboxing. So coming in at 7 inches, we've got our small fan. This is obviously the smallest cordless fan in the range. Just open him up over here and slide it out. So it does come with an owner's manual over here, and that's what it looks like when you open up the box. So initial impressions is that it's very small and compact and quite useful for those smaller type areas. I don't know how it would work for larger type areas. I'm not sure what the volume is of air that this could blow through, but overall looks like a nice solid sturdy design. Up here you've got your speed control over here and your on off button over here. Your battery slides in at the back over here. There is no mains connection, so you can only run this unit off the battery. Other than that, there's not much more to it. The feet underneath have these nice little felt pads over here so that it doesn't make noise or anything like that. So quite nice touch over there. And yeah, nothing too fancy, pretty basic, but let's see how good it is compared to other fans. Coming in with an 11-inch blade size, we've got our medium unit from Inkco. So a little bit, or quite a bit bigger than the small unit, but let's just get it out of the box and let's see what it looks like. So right off the bat, we see we've got a few extras over here. This is meant to be in this box when it arrives, I assume, because this box is open, but that's not a problem there. So this is what the fan looks like. Got your owner's manual there, and there she is. So this part here actually plugs in to this back control module or part over here to run it off the mains. So that obviously plugs into the mains, and you're able to run this machine both off the mains and on a battery. Your battery, like on the smaller unit, clips in at the back here. You've got your on-off button over here and your speed control over here. Interesting to note that there are only 2 speed settings on this fan, where the others have 3. So you do get less variance on the speed control over there. One advantage this fan has, which the others do not, is the stand itself. So a nice sturdy stand, but it also has this hook on the back, which allows you to hang it from pretty much anywhere you'd like if you need to, and you can then position the fan exactly how you want. So incredibly versatile from that perspective, and quite a nicely built, nicely designed fan. But that's pretty much how this machine works, how it operates. So let's get out the big fan and let's see the differences on that one. Okay, and third and final fan, this is the 12-inch cordless fan from Inkco. This is of course the largest fan, and it does have some extra features that the other 2 fans do not have. So I'm just going to unbox it here quickly for you guys. So as you can see, quite a bit bigger than the other fans. Now this fan, as you can see, quite a nice and sturdy unit. Underneath on the feature, we'll start at the bottom, you got these little suction cups here to make sure that the fan doesn't slide around when in use. Over here you've got your slot for your battery. It slides in the front over here, and you can see here this is your control panel over here. So on this side here you've got your timer. So if you want to turn the fan off after 2 hours, for example, you can set it to 2 hours and it will turn off automatically. That's a feature that none of the other 2 fans have. Unfortunately, there's not much more customizability from this side. You've only got 1, 2 or 4 hours to choose from in terms of runtime, but it's better than not having anything at all. Obviously in the middle it's your on off switch, and over here you've got your fan speed that you can set. You've got 3 levels over here to choose from, so that's really nice to see. On this side you've got a plug for the mains, so you can actually run this machine off the mains as well as a battery, similar to the medium unit, which is quite useful. Just gives you some extra versatility in how you want to power your fan. Now just something to note, on both fans, both the medium and this larger unit, you are not able to charge the battery when it's running off the mains. So if you're running it on the mains, don't plug your battery in here thinking that it's going to charge. It's not going to charge. Unfortunately, it's just not in the design. It would be really nice if it did though, and that's maybe something Inkco can look at for a future model. So that, guys, that's pretty much everything about this fan. Obviously it has the 12-inch blade, so it is the biggest in terms of blade diameter, but just slightly bigger than the medium unit. But other than that, that's pretty much this fan and everything you need to know. So let's get into some testing and see how the fans compare to each other. Alright guys, we're here for the first test with the small fan. So as you can see, we've got our decibel meter hooked up over here. We've got our fan. We've installed a fully charged 2 amp-hour battery. We're going to measure airspeed as well as the sound the machine makes when it's in operation. So we're going to start on its top setting and work our way down. So on its top setting, so you can see on its top setting we're on about 67 decibels and around 18.5 kilometers per hour in terms of airspeed. Moving down one, we're on about 62 decibels of sound and around 14 kilometers an hour in airspeed. And on its lowest setting, we're on about 56 decibels and about 10 kilometers an hour in terms of airspeed. Let's get the medium version of the fans up and let's see how it compares. Alright guys, we're here with our medium size fan. Let's get it going. We've got our battery on. And we can see they're around 71 decibels and around 17 kilometers an hour in terms of airspeed. It only has 2 speed settings as mentioned before. And we've got around 10 kilometers an hour in terms of airspeed there. Now this machine is able to run off the mains. So I've got our little mains cord over here. I'm just going to plug it in and see how it compares and differs to when you run it off the battery. So on mains, let's go. So again, we've got around 71 decibels and just shy of 17 or yeah, they're about 17 kilometers an hour in terms of airspeed. So very, very similar to the battery. That's on the top setting. On the lowest setting, let's have a look here. We've got around 57 decibels and around 12 kilometers an hour in terms of airspeed. So very, very similar to the battery. Let's get the larger unit up and let's see how that compares. Alright guys, we're here with the larger size fan from Inkco. We've got our battery in here. Let's see how it does. So in terms of sound, we're looking at around 62 decibels and around 27, just shy of 28 kilometers an hour in airspeed. That's on its top setting. On the second setting, you're looking at around 59 decibels and around 23 kilometers an hour. And on the lowest setting, you're looking at around 55 decibels and around 18 odd kilometers an hour in terms of airspeed. So quite a lot faster than others. Let's plug in the plug on the mains and let's see if we're able to get any different results compared to the battery. Alright, mains testing with the largest fan. Let's get going. So in terms of sound, we're looking at around 57 decibels and around 25 kilometers an hour in terms of airspeed. In the middle setting, 55 decibels and around 23 kilometers an hour in terms of airspeed. And on the lowest setting, we have got around 52 decibels over there and around 18 kilometers an hour in terms of airspeed. So very, very similar to the battery. Let's now move over to the runtime test and see how efficient and how long each of these fans can run for on a fully charged 2 amp-hour battery. Alright guys, it's now time for our runtime test. We've got 2 amp-hour batteries in all of these. They're all fully charged and they are the brand new facelifted 2 amp-hour battery, so as fair and even as possible. So I'm going to start all the fans and then I'll get the timer going. We're going to do the test on its maximum setting here and see obviously how long they run for. So with that, let's get into it. We are 30 minutes in and the fans are still going strong. Our medium sized fan is still pushing the air through here at around 12.5 kilometers an hour. Our large fan is moving the air at around just shy of 25 kilometers an hour, 25 more or less, and our little fan is still operating at around 16 kilometers an hour. I'll check back with you guys in another half an hour to see how they're performing. Alright guys, we're 1 hour in, and you can see our large fan over here has stopped. It stopped at approximately 53 minutes and 36 seconds. We just missed that on the filming side of things. Now, for the eagle-eyed viewer, you would have also noticed that when I started this medium-sized fan, it was actually on the slow setting and not on the top setting. I adjusted that at approximately the half an hour mark, so that is my mistake. We'll run the test as it is now. We've turned it up now to full, and we'll see how long it lasts from here on out, and based on that we'll run the test again or try and make some predictions. But with that, after an hour of runtime, this medium fan is currently running at around 17-18 kilometers an hour, and the small fan is at around still 16 kilometers an hour. So no real change there between these two smaller fans, but the larger fan has run out of battery life. So I'll check in with you guys in either half an hour or an hour's time for another update. Alright guys, we are at the 2 hour mark and our small fans are still going. So the medium sized fan is still pushing air through at close to 18 kilometers an hour, and the little fan is at around still 16 kilometers an hour. So still going pretty strong, no real drop off in performance there. I'll catch up with you guys in approximately half an hour time with another update. Alright guys, and with that the smallest fan has officially ended. 2 hours 29 minutes rather into the test, and the medium fan has also just stopped. 2 hours 29.5 minutes more or less for both fans. I can't believe how close they were in terms of giving up and running out of juice. That is quite amazing. So with that, that concludes our runtime test. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed the testing as much as we have. There are a few things that we learned about these fans as we went along. One of which we haven't actually spoken about, and that is the tilt on the fan itself. So in terms of this little one, that is all the tilt that you get, so it doesn't go beyond that point and doesn't go beyond that point. This middle fan is able to go a full 360 rotation, which is really nice. So you can really dial it in and aim it exactly where you want the fan, which is, you know, on a hot day, it can be quite useful. This large fan, you only get that much and that much, so it is quite limited compared to these other two fans. In terms of the results, we saw from battery to mains on these two fans, there wasn't a big difference in performance. The performance was very similar both in airspeed and in sound generated from these machines. Now, in terms of outright performance, it was this little one that was able to produce more speed, more airspeed than this middle unit. However, due to the larger blade size on this medium-sized fan, it is able to move more volume of air compared to the 7-inch blade in the small unit. This larger unit was able to provide both the airspeed and the volume. So a lot of power being used up in this unit. So in runtime, we did see that this fan only lasted just shy of an hour. So obviously the airspeed and the volume, that kind of makes sense as to why this machine was the first to die. Now, the middle unit, I did mess up a little bit there. We're going to knock off around 15 minutes on that time. So we're going to say just over 2 hours of run time on a single charge of a 2 amp hour battery on this middle unit. I think that's a phenomenal achievement based on the airspeed that you're able to get as well as the volume. The airspeed isn't much slower than the small unit, but with a 50% larger size blade, it lasted very, very similarly in terms of time compared to the small unit. So very, very good job, I believe, for this middle unit. In terms of sound, now, this medium-sized unit was the loudest on its highest setting. On the lowest setting, it did come into spec or similar sound level to the others. The big fan, however, was the quietest, which was surprising, and then this little one. So, you know, if you're looking for a silent fan, look at this one or this one. If you don't mind a little bit of noise, then this is the one to look at. So now this brings me to the recommendation. Now, if you're looking for volume and power, nothing will beat this larger unit. If you're able to plug it into the mains, it will obviously run as long as you have power supplied to it. If you are going to use a battery, I would recommend using the 4 or the 5 amp hour battery on this unit. It does eat the 2 amp hour battery a little bit quick for my liking, and unfortunately, due to the size of the aperture over here, you aren't able to use a 6 amp hour battery or larger battery in this fan. Now, if it were me and it was my personal pick, I would actually go with this middle unit, and I'll tell you why. This unit, it has the versatility of being able to hang. So you've got the hook on the back here. You're able to move it around 360 degrees. The runtime is very similar to the smaller unit. Yes, you don't get the outright airspeed, but I think the volume more than makes up for that. Over and above that, you can run this machine off the mains and off a battery, which just gives it that extra level of versatility. So in my mind, it's a no-brainer. I would get this middle unit. The smaller unit I'd only get for smaller applications where there's no power, or like maybe on a desk or somewhere where you don't need this physical size of the fan, or you just need a little bit of directed airflow. It is around 420 Rand cheaper than this unit, coming in at 629 Rand versus 1,049 Rand, and obviously 1,250-ish Rand for this larger unit. So there's a little bit of a premium on these larger fans. So there's a use case for the smaller fan, and it is a great fan. But if it were me, I would just go ahead and get this medium-sized unit. It's a fantastic unit, and I cannot recommend it enough. So with that, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please hit that like button if you haven't done so already, and subscribe. It really does help us out. All of these fans are available both in-store and online. We'll have all the information below. If you'd like to see more specifications, that information will also be down in the description. So with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you again next week.